You can't be sipping on your syrup before the show. Hello and welcome to the Whisky Dan radio show. I've taken a short break from it because I was in Colorado, and then I got back and I just didn't feel like recording. So here I am. Tonight, I got a guest on again. He's already been on. It's Max. We got Max back.
What's up, fellas?
Yeah. Tonight we're drinking Crown Royal Reserve.
And Dr. Pepper.
And Dr. Pepper, because Max is a little bitch. Which is fine. You know, it's not his show, it's my show, and I want to drink. Crown Royal Reserve, by far the best Crown, really expensive. Once again, I didn't buy this when I graduated college. My buddy Outlaw bought it for me because he makes way more money than I'll ever make, and he bought it for me. He bought me like the $100 bottle, really good, absolutely smooth. If you can convince someone to buy it for you, do that. I know it's super expensive, but it's also really good because they age it for like fucking forever. And I'm not a big fan of like big name whiskeys, but Crown really did a good job on this one. I prefer to drink it like always, just with the big cube ice in it. Super smooth. You don't get like that Canadian whiskey immediate heartburn from it. You get a nice smoky, oaky kind of taste. Max, have you had it yet?
No.
Are you gonna have it? It's kind of the
Am I allowed to drink it now?
Yeah, you should have been drinking on it before the show.
Oh, oops.
Yeah. What do you think? Well, apparently to him it's mustard gas.
Oy vey.
So do you just prefer Dr. Pepper to Crown Royal Reserves?
I'm not much of a drinker, as we've addressed in the last show. But out of all the whiskey, I will say it's not bad.
It's not $100 bottle, not bad, barely drinkable.
It's not bad. It's good. I mean, I guess it's a little dry, which is nice. It's not too sweet, so I can mix it with, my favorite soda or beverage of choice. And it's 40% alcohol by volume, so I think that's the important number right there.
You're just reading the label.
Well, also, it is... there's not a lot of stuff on here.
No, there's not. It's the important part's in the bottle.
Also, the important part is you can recycle this and get 15 cents back if you live in Vermont.
We don't live in Vermont.
But if you could drive up there and had a bunch of these... I'm just rambling. All right, I'm turning this back.
So here's the real question. Okay, is Dr. Pepper your favorite soda?
I don't know. Dr. Pepper, yeah, it is.
Now, I've heard some people like you can't use Dr. Pepper as a mix, like for like alcohol. Is that what you use with your honey whiskey?
No, I use straight Coke.
Just regular Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola, that's it.
Coca-Cola.
And I usually don't buy name brand stuff, but sodas definitely, you can definitely taste the difference with it, as much as it pains me to say that.
Soda and cereal.
Yeah, cereal.
Well, honestly, I prefer off-brand root beer, just like just your generic equivalent of root beer.
Hold up. If we're going to talk about soda, let me just say this to all y'all RC haters out there: stop, or keep going. I don't care, but RC is better than Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and I like drinking Pepsi by itself. I don't like Coke by itself. It's just weird. The only time I have Coke is if I'm mixing it with something, and that's just because it's everywhere. You can ask for a Coke and whatever, and they'll have Coke.
Like
You
Jack and Coke or just Well and Coke.
You
Sure.
You expect it to be Coca-Cola and not like Pepsi or Shasta or something. But RC is so freaking good. It's sweeter. It doesn't have that nasty cola aftertaste.
And they carbonate the shit out of it.
And it's cheaper too.
Oh yeah.
And if I hear someone call it redneck cola again, they're gonna get slapped. Because it's not. It is the thinking man's soda. Or the thinking man's cola. There's better sodas out there, yes, but out of all the colas, and the only place that I know that actually has that, if you go anywhere, they're just like, it's either Coke or Pepsi, because it's the big boys.
Yeah, I mean, you can get RC like any grocery store, but like at a restaurant?
Yeah,
though?
the only one I know is a little place here in Tyler called Ming's. And
oh, yeah, they do have RC on there.
They have RC, and they have some fat-ass Chinese food plates. Let me tell you, you can get... I know I'm sounding like I'm spokesperson for them right now, but I'm really not.
Yeah, you get like this big-ass plate of like beef lo mein, which could easily feed 3 people for like $7.
$7 or $8 or whatever, and you have lunch, dinner, and also lunch for tomorrow, and possibly dinner again. So you got like at least 3 to 4 meals, depending on how hungry you are.
Dude, my boss can eat an entire plate of the shrimp lo mein in one sitting. I don't know how he fucking does it.
Well, see, that's just uneconomical there, Dan. You got to really space out your meals, especially with Ming's like that. So anyways, Ming's is the only place I know of that says RC, probably because they're like a little local family-owned thing, and, they don't have the money to pay that Coke bucks. Or maybe they're just like, nah.
Coca-Cola sucks. We want real soda in here.
Exactly.
But you can't fault them. Yeah, when I worked at Jimmy John's, we had Mellow Yellow for a while. And that we were like the only place in town that really had it. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't my favorite. But yeah, and honestly, Coca-Cola is the shit tier cola. And you can fucking fight me on that. I think Pepsi is better, and then RC is the best. But typically, like even at a grocery store, like they're going to have Pepsi rather than RC. 7-Up is superior to Sprite. Fucking fight me. Honestly, it is. Like Sprite is just like, like it's good. Like if we're gonna have some lean, okay, yeah, I get the Sprite. But if you're just having just the soda, just get the 7-Up. You get the glass bottle for like 80 cents.
Have you
better.
Have you ever noticed that 7-Up smells like Fruity Pebbles?
No, I have not. Or maybe Fruity Pebbles smell like 7-Up.
Next time you pour yourself a glass of that DNL, as it's fizzing, just smell it, and it smells like Fruity Pebbles.
DNL.
Yeah, you remember they used to have it was some marketing campaign back in the 90s, and so it was 7-Up, but if you flip it upside down...
Oh my god, I forgot about that shit.
It smells DNL.
Oh, that's... What? Oh my god, I fucking forgot about that. Remember when Dr. Pepper, when they had like all their Coke, when they had all their soda cans look like a football for a while?
Oh, that was very recent, yeah.
That was like 2007. I want to say. I think I still have one of those cans. But yeah, I remember DNL now, all of a sudden. But now to get... I want to get to the meat of why I had you on the show today. 1, because nobody else would show up. 2, because last time we touched on it for just like 1 or 2 sentences, and I had said that the Beatles were overrated. And you were like, excuse me. And yeah, like, okay, why do you think that they're, why? Just give me your take on the Beatles.
So there's not a lot I can say that if you are contrarian like me and have thought that the Beatles weren't very good or that they were overrated, it's probably just because you didn't listen to them enough. Or because you just were like, I don't care, and everyone else is making a big deal about it, and you're just like, oh, okay, it can't be that good. And I understand. I completely see where you're coming from. And I 100% agree I used to be that way. It's exactly what I used to think, was like, oh, man, they're so overrated. Oh, they have like, oh, well, Yellow Submarine. Wow, that's pretty cool. But in actuality, I still listen to a lot of the stuff this day, and I'm still hearing and finding out new things, and it's just fascinating. I can't tell you one way or the other if the Beatles are good or not. It's just going to be your own opinion at the end of the day.
I mean, it's subjective.
The only thing I can tell you is that you just have to listen to it. You have to listen to it with an open mind and kind of experience it for yourself without having that sort of like, oh, yeah, I already have this opinion. You can't listen to it with a chip on your shoulder. I don't know if I'm using that idiom correctly.
I believe you. Well, see, because I listened to the entire Sgt. Pepper's album. Listen to the whole thing, start to finish. I liked the first song and the last song. Everything else, you could have just fucking thrown that out and redone the whole goddamn album. That's just my... And granted, like, I do understand that the Beatles were incredibly revolutionary for what they did for music with multi-tracking and all that kind of stuff and how to record the quote-unquote perfect album to get it to sound the way you want it to. I get it. I think that they were really good songwriters. However, when I think that when popular artists of the same time period played covers of their music, they just did it better.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of recording styles and techniques that were being evolved and used that perhaps maybe if they had done a little differently would have come out sounding better. But there's no... To say that there's not a comparison, I'm sure there are songs recorded by other artists at the time that sounded, and I guess better's, very subjective. But, shoot, where am I going with this?
He's had 2 sips, fellas.
It was the Whataburger. It's just, you really have to just think about what else was going around at that time period. I mean,
LSD. That's what was going around.
And
heroin.
There's a lot of good stuff.
Herpes.
There's a lot of good stuff on Sgt. Pepper's that I think you might just be glossing over. There's also a lot that you kind of miss if you just listen to it once.
Okay, I mean, granted, maybe I should give it a chance to go back and listen to the whole, like, just to, listen to half the album and then listen to the other half later. However, I feel like a complete fucking faggot when I listen to it because, like, this is what 15-year-old girls always listen to. And granted, you're like, don't come in with a chip on your shoulder. Yeah, but when in the entirety of high school, when all these, thoughts were out there saying, like, they're just so influential, it's really hard to not have that mindset already.
I don't think that was the case. I think that's your interpretative bias on the fact.
Okay, sure.
Because here's also the thing. When you see someone that's 15 years old and they're wearing a Nirvana t-shirt and they're talking about how great Kurt Cobain is, do you feel the same way? Like,
yeah, a little bit. Like, I mean, I'm a super big Nirvana fan, but, Kurt Cobain was dead before I was even born. And
so were half the Beatles.
and that's fair. So like I understand, but like, and I actually own 2 Nirvana shirts, and I don't really think that that's like wrong for people to like a band that no longer puts out music, because I think a lot of music was put out in previous generations that style is just no longer popular to record, and it's no longer mainstream, so it's just not getting listens anymore. So it doesn't necessarily bother me when they're like when a person younger than me wears like Nirvana or whatever, or something like that. However, it is annoying when like that's like the pen, like my generation sucks, kind of like, let me just go back to 1985. Like, you weren't even alive then.
Okay, so that does suck, but at least there's people still interested in the music. If you have a really niche audience of something, there's a very fine line between it having a cult following and
just being shit
and just being forgotten about, So if it didn't have that sort of appeal, you're gonna, if it gets more popular, obviously you're gonna draw in people that are just kind of in it for the fashion, I guess.
Yeah. That's true. Like, my girlfriend, super big Avril Lavigne fan when she was growing up. She still has, like, this massive Avril Lavigne post. She actually got a meter, which I think is pretty cool. I know. But honestly, sometimes, like, hey, we're going to go out tonight. And she, like, dresses like a very modern version of what Avril Lavigne wore in like 2003. Personally, I find it very attractive, and you can fight me on that. and there's nothing wrong with like sticking to like what you feel comfortable in music wise. But the problem is with me is that I've kind of ran out of music.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to throw out all that. So you got to listen to it, fresh start. Because if you start thinking about like all the people that you hate that like the music, or all the people that you like that hate the music, or all the people that you see that are just doing it as a fashion thing, it has nothing to do with it. It's not. It's nothing. It's like if you. It's like if you loved Star Wars movies, but you hate the fans.
I do.
Exactly. So, that...
Okay, episodes 2 through 6. I love those. The rest of them, get out!
Okay, but if you let any fans cause you to not want to watch anymore, even though you really liked a couple of them,
or Star Wars Battlefront 2 or something like that.
So, I would recommend listening to it personally. Personally, my favorite album is probably Abbey Road, start to finish. I don't think there's a bad song on that album. It's probably one of my 10 out of 10s. And I really enjoy the fact I love it in music when it's just there's just seamless transitions between songs.
So like Dark Side of the Moon, where it's just like the whole album is just one song.
Yeah,
it's a good fucking album.
On the B side of Abbey Road, it's all just one song. It's just one suite.
That's cool.
And yeah, you wouldn't think it if you're just listening to each individual track, but it's much like if you're watching a movie. I've been trying to listen to albums in their completion from start to finish because there's a whole art form to crafting and creating an album with the ebb and flow of one song to the next and everything. And I think a lot of producers and a lot of musicians will take that into consideration. But in a lot of music, you just hear singles, or you'll just hear the songs you like because you heard them on a radio station or
featured on a movie or something.
Yeah, and so those are the ones you kind of tend to stick with. But I highly encourage everyone to just listen to the album that it's featured on. And it may be the case. It may be that's the only song that you like on that album. And, that's definitely a lot of cases like that for me. That's for certain.
Well, see, that mindset is the whole reason why Led Zeppelin released Coda, was because they had a bunch of songs that were good, but they didn't fit like the timbre of the album that they were creating. So they released Coda, and it flopped because one was the last one, and then two, just because it wasn't Led Zeppelin Volume 4.
Yeah,
it didn't have that same structure.
So there's it's like if you're gonna watch a movie. Obviously, this is a stupid comparison, but if you're watching a movie, you don't go to the scene select menu and then just, this is a good scene, and then watch it and then go, okay, I'm going to skip around to this scene, and then all right, I'm going to put a new movie in. If you watch the movie, you watch it from start to finish because obviously the director had a vision of how it goes. I tend to think it's the same way for music, especially a lot of older stuff. Maybe not so much today because the way that people write songs and record them is... And since we're in kind of a more digital age, it's track by track. And, if I have like an idea of something like, this is a cool little motif, I can play it and then I can record it and get everything done in a couple of hours, if that. But, back in the day, you were probably writing songs and then rewriting them and then kind of like, this fits with this well and this and this. And that was the norm because, you had to pay for that studio time. So you had to make sure it was all perfect rather than today where we can just sit at our computers and go, okay, I want to do, and just roll some dice and then just go from there.
And just like, that was a waste of 15 minutes. Like, okay, well, we'll just, everybody go take a piss break, come right back to it.
So, and not to say that the other way doesn't still happen, it's just, that's just not the norm anymore. So I think when they have, if you're listening to older albums, Beatles-esque stuff like that, it's better to take it in its entirety.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what format. I think Spotify is a great resource for those that can get it because it's basically any song, almost any song, any album you can listen to, and it's just right there. It's easy. A lot of people are vinyl, not a lot, but there's a group of people that are vinyl purists, I think. because it sounds differently, because it's,
It
actually
really does.
hearing.
It really, because honestly, because I have a turntable and all that stuff, and I love listening to music on vinyl, even though it's costly. But when you listen to it on vinyl, it sounds like the band's in the room.
Yeah,
you're sitting in.
I've heard people describe it's a much warmer, much richer style sound. Now, of course, if you're listening on MP3, something of that nature, there's a lot of times where it'll be a lossy format, which means it's compressed and it's you're hearing the actual audio, but it's taken a lot out. But in today's day and age, there's a lot of lossless formats, so stuff that is more akin to getting the full spectrum of what you're actually hearing in the recording studio out directly, and maybe a lot bigger file size wise, but it's a good representation of what's going on.
Do you think that maybe that's why 80s music fucking sucks, is because that's when everything kind of went digital and they didn't have the correct formats to do it with?
I think 80s music is pretty cool.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up right.
First off, you can't really separate things by decades.
I fucking can.
Well,
as a history major, I can.
All right. To take this, for instance, I listened to B-52's self-titled album. Mm-hmm. It came out in 1979, so I would consider it 80s music. Usually people hear B-52s, it's pretty 80s. So they were an 80s band, but they sounded nothing like any other 80s band, because they didn't go with the
2/4 drum beat.
Yeah, they actually have an actual drum kit and everything. And it's it's just interesting the way that they made up their band and how they recorded, and they didn't have a bass player, and their guitarist played with 4 strings, so they just did a lot of weird stuff, which makes it not sound like a quote unquote 80s band.
I think the problem that I have with 80s music is it just felt so canned and campy, and granted that's like the mainstream that you're gonna hear on the radio today. I just feel that the 70s and the 90s typically just had more better shit. I really can't describe it anyway. Well, like it felt like it was less. It was like it had more soul to it. Like on it,
soul versus soulless. Yeah. So I see where you're coming from, but guess what? The 70s also had disco. So it's like every generational 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever, like has their
fad music.
Yeah, it's just that, and so
with disco it was just cocaine.
So 80s was that kind of weird new wave style and stuff like that. But then you have bands that I absolutely love. Devo's probably in my top 10 band. No, definitely in my top 10 bands. And they basically took that 80s sound and just went crazy with it.
Yeah, they really turned it up to 11, but they did it in a way to where it's actually good.
Yeah.
It just feels like 80s music just really half-assed. That's what I'm trying to say. It just feels like, well, we're getting paid to do it, and people like it. Like, let's... Come on, Metallica. Like, I fucking hate Metallica.
So Metallica is one of those bands where I feel... first off, I think Megadeth is better. Secondly, it's probably one of those bands, if I just listen to them more, much like the Beatles, I just have a chip on my shoulder about them.
Yeah.
But I just haven't had the time or interest. It's just one of those things that doesn't appeal to me. Kind of like a Floyd Rose. It just doesn't appeal to me.
Like, with me, it's like Tame Impala. I just, like... I don't smoke that much weed. I really can't get into it that much. Yeah. Like, honestly, yeah, if I gave Metallica more of a chance and, like, kind of listened to it, I think my favorite part of Metallica is just the one time in Aqua Teen Hunger Force where he quotes it, where Carl is like, what if it's just like the guy who comes back from the war and he's just an eyeball? Like, I fucking love it because I know exactly what song he's talking about. But like Slayer, I can't get into like the 80s like hair metal like that.
Well, what about Pantera?
I like Pantera because I'm a Dallas Stars fan, and they play a lot of Pantera at the shows, or at the games, I should say. I guess because they're both from Texas, so whatever. Also, they were featured in that one SpongeBob episode. I thought you said we were going to the park. Yeah, the industrial park.
Yeah. Anyways, moral of the story is you should listen to the Beatles, and you should ignore everything else outside of that. Here's what you shouldn't do. I'm going to listen to the Beatles. I'm going to go online and do some research, because then you'll just get a bunch of people talking about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, because they're super popular, so you're going to get voices on both sides. And so, yeah, don't read about Star Wars. Don't hear anything. Just have a friend of yours who owns the movies. Just like, hey, man, we're going to watch these. Shouldn't we start at episode 1? No, we're not going to watch the first one. We'll come to that later. We're going to start with 2.
So, if you're listening right now and you want some music to listen to, and you've already listened to the Beatles, let me give you another band you may or may not have heard. Also featured in a SpongeBob episode.
Oh, yeah.
Ween. Ween. Very, very talented musicians.
I like Ween.
If you need... So it's kind of different. Their music is all over the place. I thought They Might Be Giants was weird because they were kind of, all different genres and stuff like that. But good God, Ween is so far... It's so all over the place that you can listen to one album and think, this is the best band ever, and then listen to another band and just not even know that they were the same. So...
You mean another album.
What?
You said another band. So.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like...
Every album is a completely different... Like, it's not even the same two... Like, the Mollusk album is probably, in my opinion, that's probably like their pinnacle album. That's like their magnum opus. And also is the most commercially successful. And you listen to the other ones, while they're good... I didn't think it was the same two guys aside from the voice.
Yeah. So if you're listening, start with the Mollusk. Listen to it start to finish, and then I'm going to make a chart about what you liked about certain things, and then it'll show you, you follow
like
the
which
line.
one to go to?
You're like, oh, if you like this song, go to this one. If you like these, go to this one, and then you can just listen to the entire
I think the first band flow chart I saw for that was Radiohead, because they have they have a bunch of different type of stuff like that. And I haven't listened to Radiohead in years, but I just remember because they were really good at making every album have its own like unique feel. One time I saw an album flow chart for Nirvana. I'm like, there's 3 fucking out. Just pick one. Just either start with the naked baby or the woman on the front, and then if you really like those, then listen to the first one. Don't start with the first one. I did actually when I first got into Nirvana. Into like the Bleach album, it's like, hey, do you want to hear like 3 dudes play really loud in the garage? Like, well, this is what you got. And I was at a point in my life to where I was really enjoying shitty music, and like this is like, it's not bad. It's really good, but like you got to be in that mood for like, I want to go burn stuff and spray paint people's cars kind of mentality to get into that. Like Floyd the Barber, like we're gonna play 3 chords really loud, and Modest Mouse is like we're gonna play 2 chords, some quiet, and then some really loud. Modest Mouse, you could do a flow chart for too.
Oh, definitely. Modest Mouse is another one of the bands where I started listening to him and I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
I listened to it and it was just like, specifically it was building something out of nothing? Building nothing out of something? This always gets me.
Yeah.
I listened to that album and I was like, what the heck? I was like, what is this? It doesn't even sound good. I was like, and then for some reason, I think it's because it's the only CD I had that I was listening to, and then I just kept listening to it, and it was just like...
Well, it was either that or System of a Down CDs, which we'd fucking worn out by that point.
Yeah.
So it was like, I just leave it in. Also, my CD player, my Mustang's stuck, so it won't come out.
And it just... it just kept getting better, and it's one of those albums that I listen to today. And
I didn't really get into Modest Mouse, so I had a buddy of mine buy me The Moon in Antarctica on vinyl. And I was like, well, since he fucking spent money on it, I guess I'll listen to it. And I was like, all right, it's pretty damn good, to be honest with you.
I'll rate them right now. Number 1 is probably... I can think of the album art, but I can't think of the names.
What's it look like?
It's number 1. This is, if it's any Modest Mouse fans, it's probably going to be... Not good, but my favorite is Good News for people who love bad news.
Oh, okay. Is that the one with the light bulb on it?
No, it's green.
Oh yeah.
It's the most commercial one because it's the one that had Float on it, and
that one black guy covered it.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit more processed, a little bit more fine, like refined and stuff, which I know goes against the whole Modest Mouse thing. But gosh, darn it if that's not a good album. That one. After that's probably going to be.
I like Lonesome Crowded West.
Yeah,
that was like
that one's good, but there's a lot of there's Lonesome Crowded West is good, but there's so many songs on there. Not so many. There's just a few that are just like
they're just drone on and on.
Yeah, it just feels like,
and you're just like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, that one's good. I mean, I really like Nothing Out of Something, and then and I'd put Nothing Out of Something and Lonesome Crowded on the same tier list, and then below that you have Moon in Antarctica, and then below that you have what's the other one? The We Are Dead Before the Ship Sank.
Oh yeah,
and then everything else is. I listen to their new stuff, and it's got like a couple of good things on it. I just couldn't get into it as much as the.
Well, I remember being like Kings of Leon. Their first album was the best. It just kind of like. Just got more and more commercial. Granted, they were like, no, we got into this to get fucking rich. And I'm like, I cannot fault you for that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, they did. They got rich. But, yeah, like I think their first album was the best album by far.
They remind me of Modest Mouse a lot, just how it started. Like, just very bare bones, kind of,
yeah.
Hey, we're doing.
Let's just start jamming.
And they have a singer that's got, like, kind of a weird voice that
Yeah.
you're not sure if you like or not. And then, eventually just get more and more commercial. I think Modest Mouse has like 13 members of the band, like 2 drummers and stuff now. It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I don't know. I haven't been to one of their shows. I really wish I could go, but.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, right.
It's expensive.
Now
here's a band that does not have a bad album if you account for the original members all being in it, and that's Black Sabbath. And if you don't listen to that, frankly, you can go fuck yourself.
Let me tell you, I love Never Say Die, but it is a bad album.
I really, there's a lot of really good songs on it. Well, honestly, it's the audio quality is shit.
You know why, right?
Yeah, because they were like, they all hated each other by that. Well, they were tired of Ozzy's shit.
They couldn't find a recording studio suitable enough, and then
Yeah.
when they did, it was all like, I forgot, it was like the temperature was just wet. It was either really hot or really cold. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, and they just couldn't fucking get the sound right, and they were tired of recording. They're like, fuck it, that's whatever.
They were tired of Ozzy at that point too, and Ozzy was tired of them because they were doing all like their jazz stuff. They're getting a little bit more progressive, and Ozzy's all like, "Oh, what the heck is this shit? I knew we were doing a jazz album." He gets all pissed. Yeah. But yeah, Black Sabbath's earlier stuff. It's pretty cool.
Well, like an album you can listen start to finish is the first Black Sabbath album. Just Black Sabbath. Like you just listen to that whole thing. Granted, the last song on it is like 5 songs thrown into one. And if you aren't listening to that, listen here, MFers. Right after this show, you load that shit up, and then you just you get some incense burning. You take your shirt off, you get a talisman, you just light some candles. You listen to that shit. That's some crazy shit. And then after that, you immediately go to Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Oh, it's so fucking good. Honestly, like I've been listening to that album since I was like 14, and I still get like chills from it.
That's good.
It's just fucking good. But oh man, okay. Switching gears off of music here. We talked about that for a good bit now. Here's another thing, because I talked when I had my buddy Keith Mang on here. Had him on. We talked on anime for a little bit, and I know you're pretty big in anime, and your favorite it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, correct?
Currently, yes.
Currently,
that's my favorite.
Now, I kind of want to get into some anime, but I can't get I think the ending of Naruto put such a bad taste in my mouth. What is something that who's wanting to get back into it should start with?
Well,
not get a boner in, because I don't watch anime for the tits anymore. I want a good story.
Well, then I hate to break it to you, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is not for you.
Oh man,
just too many poses.
Oh.
No, seriously though, it's a good one to get into if you're just looking for just some weird, crazy stuff. It's one of those shows where
I see it memed a lot.
It is memed, and it's memed for good reason. It's got a lot of it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of plot holes. There's a lot of stuff where the characters are stupid beyond belief,
There's a lot of great one-liners. Like I think my favorite one is he's like, why are you approaching me? He's like, why are you getting close? Like, well, I can't kick your ass from standing over here. And I'm like, it's fucking great. And I think, like I was like, I really want to get into this show. But like, I'm not gonna watch Dragon Ball Super. I'm not gonna watch the new Boruto. I'm not gonna like. I
actually heard Boruto is pretty good. I heard that like it starts off a little rocky, but then it kind of reconciles, especially if you're one of those OG Naruto runners.
Oh yeah. Well, like I have a buddy of mine. He's super big into One Piece, but One Piece is like 1,200 episodes, so that's a fucking journey just to watch it all.
So if you don't want to watch One Piece,
I did like it.
What
I saw.
You can watch One Punch.
Is that the bald guy?
Yeah, it's only about 2 seasons in right now. 2 seasons, whatever. Yeah, I think they only have 2 seasons that are localized. Some good anime. Let's see.
How about Attack on Titan?
I don't know. I never watched it. I'm not the biggest anime fan. I'm sure there's a lot of other people. I will say I'd never watch it dubbed, only subbed.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But just because even though like the tone in it, you kind of get more of that out of it.
Yeah, I respect the English the English voice actors and the localization teams and everything like that. It just, I don't know. It just feels weird to have a Japanese setting with like English speaking people, and it seems like if I hear it in English and they're like doing their like crazy shouts and stuff like that, it just sounds weird in English to me. I don't know.
I think Bobobo still was pretty good with their localization team.
They had some good stuff. If you watch the original, though, I mean, it's just that's the thing.
I just don't want to read TV.
You get used to it. I was the same way. You eventually get used to it, and you can kind of read it and also hear it in the language and the inflection a little bit. I'm in no way, a Japanese speaker at all, but I'm no way fluent. But you can just kind of hear it just from watching a little bit of anime here and there. So my recommendations, well, right now I'm watching JoJo's. They're almost done with part 5, which has been pretty cool so far.
Is that like every season that's like a different set of characters?
Sort of. It just kind of follows the whole bloodline. So it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It's not like One Piece where it's always the same, main characters and stuff like that. And I could be wrong. I haven't watched One Piece in a hot minute, so maybe it's changed. But from what I think of it, it's usually the same, crew. JoJo's goes a little bit differently in that sort of regard. So if you're going to watch it, definitely don't skip around. Start from part 1. You have to really watch part 1 to understand. To appreciate the rest of it too. And it's good in its own right. A lot of people don't like the first couple or the first parts or so. I think it's too slow, but honestly, I thought it was really quick. And it's good pace. To me, I think it's good. Like I said, I'm not the biggest anime nerd.
Well, I wouldn't want to talk to the biggest anime nerd. They get pretty big.
So I enjoyed it. I really did, and that's kind of what got me hooked for the rest of the series. And I'm glad because it's a lot of fun. That one, I've been watching Boku no Hero Academia, or as
My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
whatever, you know what I mean.
My Hero Academy, as the dub would say. I don't know, something stupid like that. I tried to watch the dub for like 5 seconds. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. It's just
what's that one where it's got like the girls and they're like fucking doing tanks? It's like an after school.
Oh
activity.
yeah, I think it's Girls und Panzer. Yeah,
like honestly, it's a bunch of fucking lollies in like Panzers and Soviet T-34s.
It's really funny that like the cross between like history buffs and anime girls is like it's like a Venn diagram where they meet in the middle, and then you'll have this. There's another one we just finished called Saga of Tanya the Evil. I think I've shown you the first episode.
Yeah, and it was like all like the World War I shit.
It's like an alternate history / alternate universe.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy.
It's weird, but it's actually it's a lot of fun. It's a good show. There's some like weird like actually heavy themes that it deals with, and such like kind of then at the same time it's kind of lighthearted.
See, I really liked Sword Art Online. I really did, and I'm not afraid to say that. However, I finished the first season, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. I want to see how that ends. And then I watched the second season. I'm like, all right, this is just a bunch of fucking waifu garbage. Get me out. And after that one ended, I was like, I'm done with anime. I'm just done.
As if you know what, I like anime, but I really like manga better. I love reading it, and I'll probably get chastised because I don't read JoJo's. I'm an anime only. I really would love to, but I don't know.
Manga costs money.
It does. Well, there's places you can find it online for free, but whatever. There's a lot of good manga out there that hasn't been adapted to a series too. I'm kind of just blanking on some of the names and stuff like that. Then again, there's also just like a lot of bad anime and a lot of bad manga. I think it kind of gets grouped in together as the same thing. So you hear somebody that's not really into anime or Japanese animation and stuff like that, and they're just like, oh, I hate it because I had this bad experience with this one show. Well, it's actually not like that. Another good one, if you're a huge band nerd like me, Sound Euphonium. It's pretty good. It's a little girly for my taste, but Hannah liked it, and we both like it. I think I was actually the one that made her watch it, but at the end we were like, "Oh, that's a good one."
No, I had one, but not two friends. Two friends watched Kill la Kill, like the anime. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
But apparently it's sexually suggestive, and they were like, "Yeah," immediately after the episode, like I have to go like rub one out. And that was the same story for both of my friends. I'm not gonna name them, but you fucking know who you are.
I don't know what I could say to that.
Well, I mean, I think like that's just a funny thing about like anime culture. It's just because like just about every movie and TV show that's like geared for like an adult audience is gonna have some kind of like sexually suggestive kind of themes in it. I think that but those are kind of more downplayed. Like even in video games or something like Mortal Kombat, like tits out, like whatever, but they still don't, like, that's not the forefront of it. Anime is like, yeah, we draw them with tig old bitties, and we're going to put them on a pillow, you're going to pay $39.95 for one.
It's called fan service, and it exists for a reason.
Yeah, because exclusively men watch anime.
Well...
Okay, not exclusively.
Well, not only that, there's a lot of women that like that kind of stuff. It kind of goes both ways, I guess.
You mean like lesbians?
Well, not necessarily lesbians, but there's a whole subgenre of things with actually a lot of women that draw like sexual based Japanese stuff like that, especially like gay stuff. they're like women doing this, like, I want to draw these boys with pretty faces and big ass hands, and they're gonna kiss each other, and it's like these sweaty Japanese women and stuff. It's just a weird concept. But it actually exists.
I think that's the problem, being isolated on an island and not conquering people. Like Britain was isolated on an island, and then they took over a quarter of the world. Japan got way too late into the conquering game. They got blown the fuck up twice, and then this is what happens.
I think we're living in the best timeline. If you ask me.
Arguably, I think English is easier to speak than Japanese. Also, you don't sound like, stupid when you speak it.
Are you implying that you sound stupid if you speak Japanese?
Well, nobody makes fun of the way a European speak. Everybody makes fun of the way Asians speak.
Well, no, that's because everyone is European.
Nah, well.
Or not Central American.
Western.
Yeah,
Europe.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sure. Because it's like that Western idea. I mean, granted, like we do make fun of other people.
Boy, I bet
but it's just like even black people make fun of Asians.
You don't know how much they're roasting us over there.
Maybe so. Oh, that's all I got. Sorry.
You don't. Yeah, you can get roasted right now, and you wouldn't even know it.
Didn't like when you went to Japan? Didn't they have like at like the Burger King or some shit? They had like the quote unquote American menu.
It was McDonald's, and they had the American burgers, and it was like Idaho, and it was just like the hash brown. Not the hash brown, but what do they have? What's the thing that McDonald's serves for breakfast?
Yeah, it's like a little hash brown.
Yeah,
patty.
the little bit hash patty, but they put that like on a burger.
Oh,
and then
dude.
it was like I was the Idaho, and then they had like
pretty fucking
the
good.
Texas, and it had like a bunch of onions and barbecue sauce. And I was like, why the heck don't they do this over where we're at?
I'd fucking eat the shit out of that here. Like I would actually go to McDonald's.
But good lord, I can't. If we keep talking about Japan, I'm gonna want to take another trip there, and I can't afford it. Okay, one more thing I want to say because I know we're getting close to time here.
Okay.
But I was playing video games the other day. Everyone, when the old battle royale with you got Fortnite, Apex Legends, Call of Duty.
to get the Thanos gun?
So there's all these battle royales, the biggest fad. Let me tell you something here. Y'all remember Kirby's Air Ride? No. Kirby Air Ride is actually the name of it. It's not Kirby's. Everyone calls it Kirby's Air Ride, but it's actually Kirby Air Ride. So Kirby Air Ride, y'all remember that, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. So tell me here's what I'm saying. City Trial was the original Battle Royale. It's a little different, right? Everyone gets to play through. It's not like elimination or anything, but think about it.
If you haven't played Kirby Air Ride, City Trial is one of the 3 game modes in it where like everybody starts on like this little shitty vehicle. It's a racing game, and you start on a little shitty like star thing. And the City Trial, there's all these different vehicles you can get on, and there's all these different power ups you can pick up, and there's events that happens, and you could try to like beat up on the other guys, and you try to build the best little vehicle for the upcoming challenge, which could be anything from like a 1-lap race or like gliding into a target board or like a melee or something like that. So yeah, I do understand the argument that it is the original Battle Royale, because we did play some Kirby Air Ride the other night, and I forgot how fucking bad I am at it.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. You don't even have to push A to go. It just goes. It's probably the easiest racing game.
It's very easy to play. It's very fun. I really wish, if they were going to make a sequel or a remaster on the Switch, that'd probably be the turning point for me to be like, I'm seriously considering one. Right now, of course, I'm not going to buy it because A, I don't have money, and B, there's no really exclusive games for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting on Luigi's Mansion 3. Like, I want to play Breath of the Wild, Luigi's Mansion 3, that I'm like,
Here's the thing. I can play Breath of the Wild on my Wii U. I can play Wii U. Yeah, I know. Smash Ultimate's a little different because it's got all that new stuff and everything. I get it.
It's still Smash.
Still Smash.
People still just want to play Melee.
Yeah. I don't want to have to spend money on all the controllers and the adapters and all that stuff again. Mario Kart 8, I already have that on the Wii U. So there's not really a reason for me to get a Switch. So
That's right. Yeah, you can't play Breath of the Wild.
So Nintendo, if you're listening, Kirby Air Ride 2.
New funky mode.
Oh, one more thing I want to say before we wrap this up. Okay.
I mean, we got a little bit of time.
Well. Okay. Well.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good on time.
Well, I hate to just, road roller on here.
No, it's fine.
But here we go. So you know how the song "The Blue Danube"?
No.
Yes, you do. It goes like this. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun,
okay.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, so it's a classical piece. A waltz written by Strauss, and it is it's talking about the Blue Danube, which is a river in some European country.
It's in fucking Austria. It's the it's the Rhine of the East.
Yeah. So there it is.
I thought it was pronounced Danube. I don't know. I'm dyslexic.
Well, I don't know. I like to mispronounce things, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Danube because I've heard other people say
it goes right through Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary.
I thought it was Budapest.
Fucking
No. So, anyways, every time I hear this referenced, or every time like somebody's doing a play on that, or they'll have it, the ending line goes like, so this is what. Hold on. I'll do it the right way first. So the ending, the last 4 or 5 bars goes. So you have da 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 da, and then at the end it goes. Hold on. I have to. Bum bum bum. Wait. dun 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 dun, and then that's the end. That it's da da da.
It
right?
doesn't do the other like.
But everyone that wants to like either I don't know, a cover is not a good word, but like anyone that like
implement
sings
it in like a movie or sings
they put
it
in
as
something,
in a play,
yeah, or they'll like add it and they don't use the original recording. It's da da dun 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 dun, and they add that extra like duh at the end that is nowhere in the original work. Now I'm listening to it, so I'm listening to the actual whomstever playing, doing the whatever. And every recording I've heard of like an actual orchestra play it, there's never that little dun 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 stinger at the end. Mm-hmm. It's just dun 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 dun, and that's it. But every time I've heard like someone else do it, or like it's in a movie, they always add that extra duh, and it's not how it's supposed to be. And one of these days, I'm gonna find that sheet music and look at it and just look all the way through it, because it could do it multiple times, and maybe I'm missing something somewhere. But I could have sworn, I mean, I could swear that from as far as I know, there's not that extra duh at the end. And it pisses me off every time I hear someone do that. Every time. So if you're listening and you're just singing along to that song and you add the extra duh on the end, I'm gonna smack you. Smack who's ever doing that.
He's bringing the heat. That song was written like 18 or 1740.
Oh,
and it's
well,
2019 and he's still mad about it. But
let's see. The blue.
Wait, what even made you think of that?
Are you talking about recently? Because I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Fixated on it.
Recently there was a Google. So I let corporations take control of my brain, and on my phone and such. Johann Strauss II, he wrote it, and it was classical. It was actually, sorry, I'm looking this up on the old Wikipedia. 1866 was the composition date.
Oh wow, I was way off. See, I hate how it's like they just say classical music. It's like there's like 20 different kinds of classical music. Nobody understands that shit.
Yeah,
it does bother me. It's like, is it Baroque? Is it a quartet? Who wrote it? Like
yeah. So what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So Google takes my pictures, and I take a lot of pictures of my cats, and it was like, hey, we made this little video for you, and I was like, oh, thank you, Google. And I look at it, and it's just all my pictures of the cats that I've taken for the past year or so, and it was somebody singing in with a meow voice, and it was like it was doing the Blue Danube, but they were meow singing it, and then at the end they went meow 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 meow, and they added the extra ending part, and I was like, no, that's not how it goes. And then of course I was like, I was like, maybe I'm living in a parallel universe or something. So then I looked it up and listened to it, and I was like, and I listened to the original recording, obviously not the original 1860, but and so I listened to it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I was right. There is no extra duh at the end.
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those whole like Berenstain Bears things. Like where everybody thought it was Berenstein or some shit. Then you go and look at it, and you're like, wait.
It's just the bastardization of the classics.
Probably.
Kind of like you had Cheaper by the Dozen, and then you had that stupid movie with, what's his name?
He played the Naked Gun.
Steve Martin.
Yeah.
I love Steve Martin, but
rap game Steve Martin. But yeah, Cheaper by the Dozen movie was fucking horseshit. And the book was horseshit too. We had to read that in the 7th grade.
You didn't like the book?
I didn't care for the book.
It was all right. It showed the struggles, of a wealthy American family. Not wealthy, but, big American family back in the... It's a good slice of life.
Honestly,
cutting back to the anime, Cheaper by the Dozen's a good slice of life anime.
Well, see, like honestly,
dude, that should be. I'm sorry,
but King of the Hill is the best slice of life.
Of
anime.
course, yeah, King of the Hill. But they should make a Cheaper by the Dozen anime.
Well, like honestly, I think if I went back and read the book, I think I would enjoy it now because I'm being forced to read it, by a fat English teacher.
Ooh, hey, speaking of being forced to read a book in English class, Diary of Anne Frank.
And here we go.
I'm just saying, why do we have to read that? There's so many better books out there.
There's a lot better books about the Holocaust.
Exactly. There's so much more. I mean, it's really... It's just like one of those things.
Oy vey.
It's just one of those things. It's like, cool, let's read about a diary. You know, that's what a bunch of 8th graders want to read about. Diary of a 13-year-old. I don't know. Maybe it has some historical significance to it, but I know I was like, man, I don't want to read this. I'd rather read the nonfiction section of stuff rather than the diary of... Not saying that it's fiction, but...
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'd rather just read about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
No, go ahead and say it.
I'm not going to say anything.
No, you got to say it.
You're trying to bait me into saying something. I'm not going to say it.
The second I put him on the air, he's like, doesn't want to bring it up. But the minute he's off it, he's like, oh, okay, $6 million's an awful lot.
Hey, I never said that. You can't quote me on it. And if you want to hear me talk about that, you have to come to my stand-up show. Yeah, Tuesday nights down at the old...
there actually is a comedy club in Tyler, and I didn't know this. It's on Irwin Street, just north of downtown, or just south of downtown.
I don't know if it's any good.
I don't know either. I'll have to read about it. But yeah.
Or just go.
Yeah, or just fucking go. Like, well, the boy, you suck. Yeah, that'll be a $12 cover. Oy vey, they just tried to rip it right out of my pocket here.
Haven't white people suffered enough?
I got called a kike online today.
Well,
I'm wearing that as a badge of honor.
Welcome to the internet.
Welcome to the fucking internet. Yeah, this guy was like, if you're not descended from a British person, that you're not a real American. Like, get the fuck out of here. You know, like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, well. Have you watched any of the new JonTron? Like, since he's kind of changed up?
I think so. I think I'll put it on the TV.
What was the last one you've seen?
I don't even remember.
Well, because he actually just had a new one today. But my main question...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually really fucking good. It's completely different. It's like 25, 30 minutes long. It's really good, though. Do you like his new format? Instead of just going over games, he kind of talks about whatever the fuck
a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more creative. So, yes, I do enjoy it.
And also, I think that the whole video game thing is just saturated to the brim. And, like, while it was really good when he did it, I'm glad that he was able to move on. Also, I'm really tired of people calling him a fucking Nazi. He didn't even... And they would have used it as, like, an entire determinant of his character. Granted, I don't fucking know the guy. But I'm just saying, you know, he has a bunch of Hispanics on his fucking his crew...
Welcome to the internet.
Welcome to the internet. People just fucking run away with shit. Like, fuck the internet. This comes from a guy who puts this shit on YouTube.
Yeah, this is exclusively going to be a tape mail out, so please send in your address, and then we'll mail you the tape.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, actually, not we. He. He.
Okay, last thing.
Has no
we don't have a whole lot of time left. YouTube poop. More people need to watch that shit.
Do they?
Yes. Well, I don't want it to be completely mainstream.
It will never be mainstream. It will never.
It's too good to be mainstream. Okay, if you don't know what YouTube poop is, frankly, after you're done listening to this and then listen to the Black Sabbath album, you need to listen. You just need to look up the Misadventures of Skooks. I think it's a great way to get into the series.
No, that's a little
too dank.
Yeah, it's
He's the sheriff.
You got to start off with some classics like, the King of the Hill ones.
Yeah, any of the King of the Hill collabs, if you can sit through 30 minutes of a fucking fever dream. Or if you want to look up some old school Legend of Zelda YouTube poop.
Hotel Mario CDI.
Yeah, Swish Films Inc. They made a bunch of them. And you could look up. They're still on YouTube. They're like 10 years old now. And
they'll probably get delisted here pretty soon, when they crack down hard on that or try to... get ads on every video because Coca-Cola wants their monies or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a really interesting art form, and
basically it's screwed and chopped comedy version, but with video, and rather than just music.
And it takes a long time.
It takes forever to fucking make one. Like that's why the videos are so short typically, just because it takes 5 hours to make 2 minutes.
Yeah, some of the most creative stuff I've seen have been from those stupid videos, and I'll still quote them to this day just in regular conversation.
Well, we've kind of got to the point where we'll quote them, and we don't even remember what video it's from.
It's just all some sort of like weird fever dream of just funny jokes that don't make any sense out of context, but you don't, and it's just at the point where you're laughing at things that they normally wouldn't be. I think some of my favorites are ones that are set to, or like ones that are the source is a music video. I don't know why, but
those are good.
They're just
either those or the Sonic ones.
Good. Really, it just depends on who's doing it, though.
Yeah. You'll find creators that are top notch YouTube poopers, and then you'll find ones that just aren't as good. But once you find a couple good ones, you'll know where. Oh my god! And then the thing is it's one of those episodes. It's one of those things where you have to watch it like the whole way through, and there will just be one or two lines in the entire deal where you'll just fucking lose it. Like the whole thing is not going to be incredibly funny, but there'll just be one thing that's just going to hit it just right.
Fesh Pence, definitely a good starter one. That it's so good.
Hard to like not talk about these without quoting them.
It's so
because
good.
Like I want to quote them, but the audience is not going to know what they are unless they watch them.
It's so good all the way through, and both of them 1 and 2, they're just the pacing is just on point.
And I love how they use like the rule of 3 all the time. Like they'll like repeat something. Oh, they'll say something, they'll repeat it, then like they'll repeat it like with fervor, and it's just fucking hilarious.
It's very interesting, and just to see how trends and everything follow in abstract form. It's like modern day. What's oh my gosh, I can't even think of it. My brain, I can't think of the word. It's like modern day. Okay, what's
like a collage?
No. What's the son of a bitch? What's the play like the
the Bald Soprano?
Yeah, what's that called?
Absurdism.
Yeah, it's like modern day absurdism where it just doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's never it doesn't need to make sense.
But some of them do, and you'll have different nowadays. You have like different genres, like you have like these horror YTPs.
There's a whole subreddit dedicated like to Garfield, like creature horror like that. It's a r/I'm sorry John. That's fucking horrendous.
There's some really good horror King of the Hill ones that it's just.
I love. There's what it's called. Hank Hill shows his true power.
Yeah,
just fucking watch that shit.
Either that or Swing Bobby Swing is another good one.
Back breaking Bobby.
See that's more of a comedy style, but like the
Swing Bobby Swing.
It's more of the like it's just like creeps you out, and there's like hardly any jokes in it. Like either in like quote unquote jokes, there's none, but it's just like you just feel unsettled as you're watching it.
It's like every third Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode is just incredibly unsettling. One of my favorite ones is where there's Willie Nelson.
Tonight,
not yet.
You
head banana no, but it's where the Willie Nelson, not the Willie Nelson, but his name's Willie, and like that's the joke that they make it. And he's like this little onion spider looking thing. And at the very end, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go, and he's like. They're trying to make him scary, but he's not scary. Like he's just a little bitch. And then he's like, I think we really got him. Like they scared Carl or something, but they really didn't. They was like, yeah, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go back into the attic. I'm gonna drink some juice, recharge from batteries. Like, yeah, man, you go do that. And then like he goes up into the attic, and then the other 4 people, Meatwad, Frylock, Shake, and Carl, they go up in there, and they just see like all these like hanging bodies like in the attic, and he's like, oh my god, like what the fuck? And he just like tears Carl's arms off, and he drinks his blood. He's like, juice, and then that's the end of the episode. Probably one of my favorite ones, arguably one of the most unsettling. That and the one where Carl keeps eating the Parasite granola bars. It's like South Bronx Paradise. Like, Carl, that's his Parasite.
We're rewatching Aqua Teen, and
oh my god, so fun. That's probably the best. I don't give a shit. That is the best written television show.
Speaking of written television shows, I don't know why, but I've been watching a lot of superhero based things, and I have no idea why. So I watched, of course, My Hero Academia. I watched. What else? Oh, there was some other superhero show. The Tick, not the remake, the Amazon one. I watched The Tick. Recently watched the movie Watchmen.
Did you read the book Watchmen?
I did read the
So
graphic novel.
good.
Yes.
So fucking good.
Yeah.
If you haven't read that, man. Like,
Even if you don't like comics, it's good.
like that is it's to say it's a
not
comic.
very- yeah, because there's a lot of words.
Yeah,
there's a lot of words
like,
in that one.
Yeah, like to say it's a comic book is a misnomer. It's a animation.
Not animation.
Well,
pictures.
illustration.
Yeah. What I know there was another superhero-esque thing. Well, I guess One Punch Man could be considered that kind of. Everyone's got superpowers or is trying to be, a hero or something like that. So there's just all these different superhero things that I'm like, why am I watching this? It seems, and like Venture Brothers, and just like all this stuff where it's.
Well, Venture Brothers isn't. I mean, like it is superhero based, but it's so based around failure. Like everybody sucks.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I'm watching all these things, and they're rooted very similarly, but they all have different themes and how they approach everything. It's very interesting to kind of see that. Maybe I'll have to make a PowerPoint presentation about the different themes of every show.
If you do, I'll upload it on my channel here for all 12
No,
people.
I'll make one of those YouTube video essays that seems to be the hit right now. It's welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about themes in super.
I think the best video essay is Austin M. Connell. I really enjoy that guy.
Yeah, he's all right.
I think it is pretty good. But
Gotta have a fan base, I suppose. I think we should save YouTubers for the next series.
yeah, we
YouTubers
could. Yeah,
we
we
enjoy.
will. Because I think the YouTube poop was a good way to kind of usher into that. So, in closing, people need to listen to the Beatles without a chip on their shoulder. Listen to the first Black Sabbath album. Give YouTube poop a shot. And JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is worth it.
And also we need Kirby's Air Ride 2, please.
Kirby's Air Ride 2.
Kirby Air Ride 2.
Yeah, Kirby Air Ride 2 and feet pics. I have not gotten any feet pics. Mildly upset about that. So,
ooh, mama.
alrighty, I think we're gonna wrap it up right around there. Thank you for tuning into the Whisky Dan radio show tonight. We had Crown Royal Reserve. If you got the coin, it's worth it. Let me tell you, Max still hasn't finished his because,
and I will not,
and which means I will, because I'm not wasting this shit. It's too good. But thank you for tuning in. Yeah, like I said, we had Crown Royal Reserve. You got the coin. Go ahead and buy it. If you enjoy having Max on the show, I enjoy having Max on the show when he actually fucking shows up.
I enjoy being here, Dan. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a good way to spend my evening. It's for sure.
Yeah. Well, once again, if you'd like to be on the show or you'd like to write in on the show or have a suggestion for a topic or for a alcoholic beverage for us, please write us in at whiskeydanradio@gmail.com. I do check that periodically, although nothing ever comes in it. If you would just please write in, even if it's hate mail, I don't care.
Well, one more quick shout out. I want to just
sure.
Just nudge this little this little thing in there. So back in my heyday, before I peaked in high school, I really liked making movies and making short films and stuff like that. So if you've got just a baller ass script, and I'm gonna reach out to my friends here to see if they've got anything, and it's super simple, maybe a short little 2 to 5 minute thing. I really want to get back into the making videos and finding people to work with and kind of doing what you're doing here on the audio side and doing a little bit more with the visual and that kind of stuff as well too.
Okay.
So if you know anyone in the area that wants to do anything like that, have them hit me up.
It's not porn, right? You're not
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
Hey, I'm not that Jewish.
Oy vey. Circumcisions only. So yeah. If you need if anybody wants to help out with some video shit, hit up Max here.
Or this would be really interesting. We could have a little 48-hour film festival for Tyler, but only for amateurs. It'd just be like, hey, let's just get together and have fun and make a little weekend out of making a movie and sloppily editing it together. I think it'd be a lot of
see what we can do.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really cool idea. And I love little short films like that where you can digest the whole thing in a couple, in an afternoon. But yeah, So that's that. Once again, he's still at it's Lenny Danny, right?
I don't even remember anymore.
Something like that. I'll put the link in the description or some shit. Once again, thank you for tuning in. We're happy to have you on here. Like I said, please subscribe because I have like 4 subscribers.
Please subscribe.
Yeah.
I'm begging you.
Honestly, that's how I feel about the feed pics. Subscription is more like if you want to, whatever. Tell your friends. Thank you again. We're signing off now. I want a Milky Way. I want to eat Milky Way. Yeah.